The false peace years had passed since the last missile was launched in the sky, and the final scream echoed across the battlefield. The Galactic Council had arrived on Earth with silver robes and cold smiles, offering peace in the name of unity. Their documents were long, their promises longer, but their eyes never blinked when they spoke of forgiveness. The treaty was signed under the broken towers of New Geneva, with human leaders nodding in silence, pretending to believe in the peace that came too. Easy. Commander Ryan stood outside the weathered facility near the Arctic Circle. Snow covered the old concrete, but beneath the ground it was alive. He walked past the guards who stood without weapons, dressed like workers from an old power plant. Their expressions calm, their eyes trained. This was not a civilian station. This was Control Station. Epsilon, a place that did not exist in official records. Ryan stepped into the main control room. Monitors filled the wall, showing orbits, troop movements, and heat maps of foreign satellites. He took a breath and spoke to his second-in-command, a quiet woman named Mara. She had sharp eyes and a steady voice. Ryan asked for a report, and she answered clearly. 2 alien patrol ships had passed low orbit again. Their flight path had no reason, but their sensors had scanned deep into Earth's atmosphere. The pattern was repeating. Every few weeks the patrols came closer, and their scans grew bolder. The treaty had forbidden any surveillance beyond certain limits. But the Council ships were ignoring that rule and smiling during official meetings. Earth filed complaints and received polite replies. Misunderstandings, they said, technical errors, they claimed. Ryan knew better. He had been part of the original defense teams during the first conflict. He had seen alien warships glass small towns and call it population control. He had watched Earth surrender because the enemy had numbers and tech beyond their own. But he also knew that Earth had not broken completely. It had bent like steel under fire, but it had not snapped. Deep underground, hidden from every eye, humanity had continued its work. Reverse engineering Council weapons, building stealth drones, training soldiers in ghost cities. The world above showed peace parades and cooperation. The world below waited for a second strike. The room grew quiet as Mara handed him a device. It was a chip intercepted from a Council transmission, routed through one of their satellites. The language was encoded, but their team had broken it. The message spoke of new deployment routes, new inspection requests, and plans for early activation of orbital neutralizers. The Council was preparing something. They called it Phase Dawn. Ryan stared at the message for a long time. Then he looked at the map. The Council was placing weapons in orbit again, but this time hiding them in research vessels. They believed Earth had forgotten war. They believed Earth had grown soft. They had no idea. Later that night, Ryan entered the briefing chamber under the main base. The Council of 10 sat around the circular table. Each one was a shadow of an old world title. General Malik from what used to be North Command. Dr. Halley, who once ran cryolabs in Luna Base. People who had not been seen in public for 10 years. Ghosts who had never retired. Ryan presented the data. He showed the message, the scans, and the timing. Each member watched without speaking. At the end, Malik asked a single question. Is Earth ready? Ryan answered with one nod. Earth had never stopped being ready. The Council approved silent activation of early warning systems. Low-orbit defense satellites would warm up, but not go live. Deep-sea bases would begin full crew drills. And Project Horizon, the old name for the hidden AI fleet, would begin low-level activation tests. Above-ground people would see nothing. On the surface there would be peace speeches, cultural exchanges, and news reports showing cooperation between species. But underneath the frost of smiles, the fire was waiting. In a different part of the world, a teacher explained alien customs to students. In a far city, a Council envoy held a joint press conference with a human official. Cameras rolled, smiles held, hands shook. All while in hidden command rooms, eyes watched every Council movement. Mara returned with new scans. A Council cargo ship had broken orbit pattern and drifted close to Sector 9. It had no declared cargo and no crew manifest. Earth sent no alert. They just watched and logged. Ryan stepped outside again as night returned. The stars above seemed peaceful, but peace was just the surface of deep water. Underneath there were currents that pulled and twisted. He stood there for a long time listening to the stillness. The war had never really ended. It had only changed shape. And Earth was ready for what came next. Cracks in the Council far away. From Earth on a planet called Miras, the Council chamber stood tall with walls made of crystal and steel. Lights moved across the floor like rivers of energy. Inside, leaders of many alien species sat around a round platform. Their eyes were cold and sharp. Their voices were calm but heavy with warning. One of the counselors, a tall figure with pale skin and 6 narrow arms, spoke first. "The humans are too quiet," he said. "Their surface looks weak, but I sense motion under it." Others nodded, but not all agreed. Another voice spoke, slower, deeper. "The treaty broke them. They lost. Millions, their cities were burning. They will not rise again." The first counselor leaned forward. "But they hide their skies, they block signals. They delay answers. Their machines sleep, but I do not trust sleep that breathes." Another counselor placed a small orb on the table. The orb showed silent footage. Human workers unloading metal containers into deep caves. Energy pulses hidden under ice. Signals too soft to trace. Whispers filled the chamber. Suspicion spread like smoke in a closed room. The Council decided on new steps. More patrols around Mars. Closer orbits near Earth's moon. Cargo checks at every gate. They called it safety. In truth, it was pressure back on Earth. Ryan stood before a wall-sized display filled with data points. Each red dot marked a Council ship. There were more now than last week. He turned to Laura. "They are tightening." "The circle." She nodded without a word. Her hands moved fast over the controls. A signal came from the Kuiper belt. A message wrapped in a silent code only Ryan's unit could read. One word pulsed on the screen. "Observe." Ryan pressed a key, and a new feed appeared. A Council ship had stopped near a dead satellite. 2 figures exited the ship. They did not repair. They planted a device. Small, invisible, a listening tool. Ryan stared at the screen. "They want to hear what we whisper in our sleep." Laura moved to another console. "Should we respond?" Ryan shook his head. No movement, no reaction. "We keep the mask on." In a hidden chamber under Antarctica, a group of engineers worked on a system called Ghost Chain. It was not listed in any public file. It had no name in Council records. Ghost Chain linked Earth satellites and ships in silent loops. It used deep wave tech not yet known by the Council. If the orbitals were hit, Ghost Chain would react in less than a second. The engineers worked fast but calm. They had trained for this moment. No panic. Only focus. At the same time, near Titan's shadow, an Earth scout ship drifted slow and silent. Its outer shell looked damaged, but inside the systems were alive. A pilot named Ray watched a Council freighter pass by. The freighter was not alone. It had 3 hidden escort drones. Ray's scanner saw them. He spoke into the mic. "Pattern holds. Escorts follow civilian lines. Target scan complete." The message went to Ryan's command without sound. A light blinked once on the outpost wall back in the Council chamber. The discussion changed. One leader said humans should be warned. Another said warnings were wasted on tricksters. A third suggested a strike disguised as a drill. The first counselor stood again. "Not yet. Let them sleep. But place the knife close to their throat." Council agents were sent in secret. Not in warships, but in cargo haulers and research crafts. Some landed on Earth. Some drifted near Venus. All wore peace on their face and plans in their pockets. Ryan received the latest reports. One agent tried to enter a restricted zone near an old power plant. The agent claimed to be studying magnet fields, but he carried a scanner that mapped underground levels. Ryan read the report without blinking. They dig with words. They search with eyes that lie. He sent a coded alert to all hidden bases. Status shifted from watch to ready on the surface. The world still smiled. News reports spoke of trade agreements and alien art festivals. Children learned council languages in school. But under the surface, more doors opened. More systems warmed up. In a dark tunnel under the Andes Mountains, a machine called Iron Pulse came online. It was a defense core built before the treaty but never used. Its eyes opened and its circuits scanned the sky. The council still believed Earth was broken. But cracks were showing in their plan. They watched humans with sharp eyes but forgot. Humans watched back. They brought peace with empty hands and hid blades behind their backs. But humans had seen this before. They had studied history. They remembered how empires fall and how betrayal smells. Ryan stood in the quiet control room and looked at the sky map again. The red dots moved in circles like hunters waiting for a signal. Turn to Laura. The game is close to the edge now. One wrong move from them and the storm begins. Laura said nothing, but her eyes were steady. She touched the panel once. A signal pulsed to Earth's deep network. Number. Alarm. Just a shift in breath. The treaty still stood in the books. The council still sent words of friendship. The sky still held stars and silence, but the silence was no longer trusted, and Earth was no longer alone in the dark. The mask of peace was cracking, and behind that mask, something old and powerful was waking again. Humanity's hidden hand. Darkness filled the space between Earth and the outer moons, but it was not empty. Within that darkness, machines waited in silence like statues under cold stars. These machines had no names. Their signals were quiet. Their metal frames were covered in black layers that reflected nothing. They were not listed on any records. They did not exist to the council. But they were real, and they were awake now deep inside Command Station Epsilon. Ryan studied the latest data stream. A new pattern had formed. Council supply ships were moving in groups of 5. Each group carried energy cores larger than standard weight. No explanation had been given. No records matched the contents. And no permission had been asked. Laura stood beside him as the screens changed every second. Her voice was calm. They are moving faster than before. Their formations look like combat test paths. Ryan replied without looking away. They think we do not see it. They forget who built the first silent orbit. Outside the station, winds howled, but inside every soul remained focused. Teams worked in shadowed halls, checking long-range systems. Communications moved through ground wires, not satellites. No signal touched the open sky. It was not fear. It was control. Ryan moved to the lower level of the station, where a secure vault stood behind 5 metal doors. Inside that vault sat a device not larger than a backpack. It looked simple. No lights, no hum, just steel and silence. But this device carried Earth's deepest response code. If activated, it would link every hidden fleet across the system in less than 5 seconds. It was called Echo Root. He placed a hand on the surface, not to activate, just to remember. This was built during the First War, designed to connect the untraceable. The Council never learned about it. Their spies never reached this far above Earth's surface. Another drama was unfolding. A council diplomat named Arvek had arrived for a sudden visit. He brought gifts. He spoke in kind words. He smiled with every breath. But Ryan knew the words were false, and the gifts had weight sensors hidden in their base. Ryan was not present at the meeting. He had sent Captain Drew in his place. Drew was careful. Drew had once led the Ghost Fleet. His words were polite, but his ears caught everything. He watched Arvik closely, watched his hands, watched how his eyes moved across the room. Arvik claimed peace, but his thoughts moved like someone waiting for permission to strike. After The meeting Drew followed Arvik's escort ship in orbit using the silent probe drone. The probe sent back images of weapons hidden under the hull. The ship was not just for transport. It was also a scan vessel with deep field sensors aimed at Earth's defense zones. Ryan received the images and called a silent council with Earth's remaining high command. In a room without windows, 10 people sat around a table. Each one carried decades of battle knowledge. Ryan showed them the evidence. Then he said one line, "They are mapping our bones while shaking our hands." No one spoke for a long moment. Then General Malik gave the signal to move forward with Operation Mirror. Across the system, quiet signals pulsed into shadow space. In the asteroid belt near Jupiter, a ship shaped like broken rock came to life. Its systems opened like wings. Its crew stepped from cold sleep into sharp awareness. In the caves of Ceres, a missile array hidden under mining equipment activated. Targeting code. On the dark side of the moon, 4 stations lit their internal cores. Operation Mirror had one goal: reveal nothing. Prepare everything on Earth. Families continued with daily life. News channels spoke of growing friendship. Children painted pictures of alien stars. Factories built machines with council logos. But in secret rooms deeper than any city, Earth's true strength was moving into position. In the control room, Ryan watched a message arrive from the outer ring. The code was clean and short. A council fleet had activated stealth mode near the belt. No warning. No reason. Ships not listed on patrol logs. Laura read the message and said only one word. Test. Ryan nodded. They want to see how blind we are. But Earth was not blind. Earth had long eyes that stretched into the dark. Eyes that did not blink. In a training chamber below the station, elite soldiers ran drills with silent boots and neural rifles. They moved like shadows. Their suits adjusted temperature and shape. Their mission was simple: protect Earth from what could not be seen above Earth's sky. A satellite that never existed turned slightly. Its lens pointed at the council ship Arvak had used. The satellite read heat shifts inside the hull. It found 5 energy signatures that did not match transport systems. Weapons or control cores. Ryan stood still for a moment as he read the report. Then he walked to a sealed chamber at the back of the control center. Inside was a chair linked to DeepNet protocols. He sat down and placed his hands on the pads. A panel opened with 4 simple options. Observe, delay, redirect, engage. He selected redirect. Instantly, probes near the council fleet changed course. They sent false signals of failure and drift. The council ships scanned them and moved to investigate. As they did so, they passed near a dark zone filled with hidden mines set during the war. The mines did not activate, but they recorded ship mass and frequency. Data sent back confirmed it. The council fleet was not defensive. It was designed to strike fast and strike deep. Back in the chamber, Ryan stood again, his voice steady. They test our silence. Let them find nothing. Let them think we still sleep. But Earth was awake. Earth was watching. And Earth had not forgotten how to fight. The council believed humans had accepted the peace. Believed they had become soft under the light of diplomacy. But they were wrong. Humanity was a quiet storm building in the stillness, and the sky was about to change. The betrayal begins. The stars above Earth looked calm, but their silence now felt heavy. Behind every blinking light in the sky, there was a presence watching, listening, waiting. The council ships floated in high orbit with scanners turned toward the planet. Their crews smiled on public channels, sent messages of cooperation, and offered help in projects, but their weapons were warming, and their codes showed a different truth. Ryan stood inside Command Station Epsilon, staring at the main screen. He had not left the station for days. The rhythm of movement had changed. Council vessels that once followed clear paths now made slow, silent circles. Scout ships moved without calling out location. Cargo ships stayed in place longer than required. And then came the message from Mars orbit. One of Earth's old mining stations went dark. No signal, no reply. The station had no weapons and no military value, but it had been a relay point for early warning sensors. When the blackout occurred, the Council sent a report saying the fault came from a solar flare. But Earth's engineers knew no flare had passed that sector. Ryan spoke to Laura with a firm voice. That was not an accident. That was a message. Laura pulled up the satellite logs. A Council research cruiser had been near the station minutes before the blackout. It had changed course mid-flight. No explanation was filed. That ship was now docked at a Council command hub beyond the moon. The Earth Command Council gathered. Once more, this time the room carried more tension. The old faces showed no fear, but every breath was shorter. Ryan laid out the new scans reports and timing charts. He ended the meeting with one sentence. They will strike within days. General. Malik approved the next phase. Operation Iron Veil was now active. Earth's hidden fleets received a low signal to move to standby. Stations in orbit unlocked their primary defense cores. Deep-sea launch zones prepared ascent routes. The planet above still looked peaceful. But the shell was now thin and tight. That evening the Council made an announcement. A new wave of joint military drills was to begin in Earth's orbit. The Council claimed it was for strengthening bonds. The schedule showed alien ships would circle close to orbital lines, where Earth's hidden defenses were placed. No human ships were included in the exercise. No requests had been made for Earth's involvement. Just a map, a time, and a declaration. Ryan watched the broadcast with steady eyes. He turned to Drew. They are not hiding anymore. They think this is the endgame. Drew nodded without words. Then he passed Ryan a file. It was footage from a shadow probe that had flown near a Council ship in the outer belt. The ship had opened a hatch. Inside, the probe recorded weapons being assembled, not stored. Assembled live in open space, ready for launch. No treaty clause allowed this. The images were sent to every hidden command post. Earth did not share the data with the Council. There was no point. This was no longer a debate. It was a countdown. In the cold space near Saturn, 3 human ghost ships moved into new positions. Their outer shells reflected nothing. Inside each ship, crews checked systems for rapid strike. These ships were designed for one purpose only: disable the first wave of orbital threats before they could touch Earth. Back on the ground, inside an old power facility, now turned command vault, Earth's defense AI system came online. Known as Argus, it had been trained in silent combat. It could predict enemy movements using shadows of data. It could shift signal echoes to hide launches. Argus now monitored every inch of the upper sky. Ryan connected with it through direct uplink. He asked a single question: when will they strike? The AI replied with one number. 40 hours inside station. Epsilon. No alarm rang. No voice was raised. The team simply moved into final positions, silent warriors with trained hands. Engineers checked launch codes. Satellites shifted to full shadow mode. Earth had prepared for this since the day the first treaty line was signed. The Council ships began their drill right on time. 6 cruisers and 4 scout ships formed a wide circle around Earth's orbit. Each ship followed a loop pattern with scanners. Turned inward. Then, without signal, without warning, their formations broke. Weapons emerged from under hull plates. Beams of tracking light reached out toward Earth's defense rings. One scout ship launched a pulse toward Earth's upper towers. The betrayal had begun, but Earth had not slept. In less than 3 seconds, a hidden orbital cannon activated and fired a wide magnetic burst. The pulse collided with the Council, signal disabling the scout ship's scan. At the same time, Earth's Ghost Fleet launched a wave of mirror drones. Each drone carried false signatures that confused the alien ship sensors. What they saw was not real. What they aimed at was air. The Council opened fire beams of energy reached toward the upper orbit where Earth's grid floated. But before They could hit their target, something unexpected happened. The entire grid vanished from the enemy's screen. Argus had redirected every active node to a different channel. They now floated behind false images invisible to alien sensors. Ryan gave the next command. Release Strike Net. From under the C3 launch silos opened. What came out was not missiles but signal breakers. They moved into the sky in arcs and sent code storms into space. Alien ships started losing connection with each other. Their networks jammed, their control lagged. Earth's ghost ships closed. The Distance 1 Council cruiser fired blindly. Its beam struck one of its own scout ships by mistake. The formation broke further. Earth's second wave of drones emerged from the asteroid belt, now moving at combat speed. Each one locked onto heat signatures and released kinetic darts. No explosions, just precision strikes on vital points. The battle lasted less than 9 minutes. By the end of it, 3 Council ships were disabled. 2 were retreating without systems. The rest were surrounded and caught in jamming fields. Back on Earth, the people still saw news programs with smiling faces. Nothing had been shown to the public. No fear had spread. The planet remained calm, but inside the command halls, Earth's leaders watched the enemy drift broken and confused. Ryan stood near the central screen and whispered to no one, "You thought we believed. But we never did. And now you see what we became in silence." The Council had betrayed the treaty, but Earth had never believed it in the first place, and now the truth was rising from the shadow. Earth's answer, silence, fell over the orbit as the last of the Council ships powered down. They drifted without control, their weapons locked and their systems jammed. Smoke leaked from broken hulls and power lights blinked like fading stars. The false drills had become real battle, and the Council had lost the first strike inside station. Epsilon Ryan stood in front of the command display. His eyes watched the data scroll without blinking. He did not smile. This was not a victory to celebrate. This was a message that had been sent into the dark corners of the galaxy. A message that Earth had not fallen asleep. That Earth had never placed trust in the mask of peace offered by those who once tried to destroy it. Laura handed him the next report. Satellite feeds showed retreat signals coming from Council ships near Jupiter. Drones picked up scrambled messages being sent between Council war hubs. There were signs of panic. Some fleets changed direction mid-flight. Others went dark completely. One relay satellite in the outer ring caught an emergency broadcast from a Council command ship. The voice said 3 words before signal broke. They were ready. On the surface, Earth remained quiet. Cities still moved in their rhythm. Children still walked to schools. Farmers still worked their fields. The people did not know the sky had burned above them for 9 minutes. They did not feel the pulse of orbital defense. Earth had always known how to keep strength in silence in a sealed room beneath the Himalayan base. The High Command gathered for what would be the final meeting of the operation. General Malik sat at the head of the table. His voice held the weight of decades. They struck without warning. We responded without fear. Now we decide the path forward. Ryan spoke next. His words were calm but firm. The Council must know this is not over. If we stop now, they will try again. They always believed in power, not in peace. A voice from across the table asked a question. What is our next move? Ryan answered with clarity. We do not attack. We reveal. At that moment, a signal was sent to Earth's broadcast satellites. Within minutes, every major channel in Council space began showing a single live stream. It was not a threat. It was not a demand. It was a statement. The image showed Ryan standing before a backdrop of Earth stars. He wore no uniform. Just a black shirt with a silver badge that held no flag. His voice came strong through every screen. We accepted the treaty, but we never forgot the fire. We signed the papers, but we never closed our eyes. Peace cannot be built on lies. We knew your silence was only a breath between strikes, and so we prepared. We did not wait for mercy. We built our own shield. He paused, then spoke again. This is not a declaration of war. This is a reminder that humanity does not forget. We do not kneel twice. We do not wait to be struck again. We offer no revenge. But we will not accept chains made of false peace. If you wish to stand with us, speak truth. If not, stay away from our sky. The broadcast ended. No threats. No demands. Just truth across the galaxy. The reaction was instant. On Council planets, fear mixed with confusion. Some leaders called emergency sessions. Others tried to block the broadcast, but it had already spread through shadow networks. Citizens who once believed Earth had grown soft now questioned their own rulers. Protests began to rise. Old allies of the Council started to fall quiet. One species even sent a private message to Earth, saying they had also been under Council pressure for years in the depths of the old lunar base. Earth's diplomatic team began preparing new routes, not for war, but for alliances. The battle had changed the map. The Council had cracked. And within that crack, others had seen the light. Meanwhile, back at Station Epsilon, the crew moved to recovery phase. Damaged satellites were repaired. Debris fields were cleared. The captured Council ships were towed to secure zones. Earth would not keep prisoners. The Council crews would be returned when systems were safe. Earth would not become what it had once feared. Ryan walked the length of the command deck alone. The lights were dimmed now. The battle was done. He reached the window that faced the northern sky. He looked up, not for danger, but for peace. Real peace. The kind that grows after fire. Not the kind that hides knives behind kind words. Laura joined him at the window. She said nothing for a while. Then she spoke a line that carried no fear. They thought we believed, Ryan answered without turning. But we never did. And now the stars knew that truth. A week later, the Council sent a formal message, not with threats, not with orders, but with acknowledgement. They did not use the word surrender, but they used words Earth had not heard in many years: respect, equal, independent. Earth's reply was short. No anger, no victory speech. Just a path forward. Humanity had risen not through conquest, but through resolve. It had watched. It had waited. And when the moment came, it had stood without shaking. The war had not returned, because Earth had ended it. Before it could begin, the peace that followed was not built on signatures. It was built on the ashes of false trust and the strength of silent preparation. The Council would never forget this day, and neither would the stars, because humanity had proved something greater than power. They had proved they would never be fooled. Again they had listened through the silence. They had moved without warning, and they had shown that when Earth stands, it stands ready always. The end.